What's up, guys? This is it. 20K, 20,000 subscribers. I can't believe I've reached this point. It's amazing. God, I remember at the very beginning of this channel, I've told this story a few times now in a few different videos, but I gotta tell it again. I started out with like 4 or 5 videos that had no talking, no me even in it, just myself walking around Japan. 4 or 5 videos, a little bit of music put in there. There's actually a original subscriber who I'm going to give a shout out to right now. His name is a series of numbers, so it's a little bit hard to remember what it is. He still has them. I actually want to try and get those back up here at some time. And those are my first original videos, and it was just me walking around with music. And then people saw I was in Japan, and I got like probably 5 or 10 different emails that were just starting to ask me questions like, how did you get there? Why are you there? What are you doing there? What's your deal in Japan? So I was like, oh, what should I do? Should I try to write all these people back, or I could just make like one video? And so I just made one video, and it was called JFAC, and I never thought I would ever make another one again. I just thought, I'll make this one video, answer these emails, and then I'll go back to these once in a while, like every month or so, making one little music video thing where I walk around Japan. And I made that video, and like 100 people joined the channel. I was like, whoa, this is really popular. And it's an awful video. If you go back and watch it, it's JFAC number 1. Even the information in it's incorrect because visa laws have changed since then. So it's not even a relevant video. And I made that, I got 100 people join, and I was like, wow, this stuff's really popular. Like me just talking even though I'm an idiot. And I sound like a stooge when I talk. And so I was like, you know what, I'll make another one. And I made another one, and another 50 people or so joined. And then another, and like another 100 people joined. And then a few more down the line, I remember the first time I ever got a call from Victor. Give me a break, give me a flake, man. Another J-vlogger, if you will. And he told me, he said, wow, you can really speak in front of a camera, and you've got some good information, and I'll go ahead and give you a shout out. Just do a little video for me, and I'll throw it into a clip of my own video. And I was like, wow, this is cool. Like, other people actually watch me and know that I do this. And he threw me in there, and like I had 1,000 people join my channel. I was blown away. 1,000 people. To me, back then, 1,000 people watching my channel was just like amazing to me. I couldn't believe it. And then from there, it's really funny. Busan Kevin, you may know him. We worked together for like a whole year, and he was looking around at different people who lived in Osaka who made videos, and was inviting them out to a YouTube party mix-up, and meet-up, I should say, not mix-up. And he found my videos, and we never told each other we made videos. It was really funny. We never even explained to each other that we had done it on the side, because we kind of kept it a secret at our job. And he said, hey, Scott, I didn't even know you make videos, man. Come on out to this party. And I met all these other YouTubers, and I was like, wow, these guys have like 10,000 subscribers, and they're really popular, and people have known about them for a long time. And I've only just started, and I was blown away. I was like, I gotta get more serious about this. So then I started expanding into all different types of categories for JFAC. That got even more viewers, and that got even more questions sent to my channel, just expanding it more and more. It was amazing. Like, it blew me away. I just couldn't believe people were super interested to hear the information I had. And so then I was like, you know what, I want to develop this skill. I want to start to get better and better at making these videos, and that's what I tried to do. I hope I've gotten better over the years. I hope it's a skill that I've built up. I guess you guys can be the judge of that. And here we are today, 20,000 plus subscribers, and I'm amazed. I'm still amazed. Every time I reach like a new notch or level, or I guess when I hit 10,000 I was super surprised. Now that I've hit 20,000 I'm super surprised. One day, the highest I'd like to get, I mean, I'd love to go as high as possible, but 100,000 would be amazing to me. So I guess I'll make another one of these videos again when I hit 100,000. No, I'm just joking. I'll probably make it after the next 10,000, but it's just really incredible to me, and it's really inspiring to me, and you guys are the ones that made this all happen. You guys are the ones that made these videos continue, that gave me the inspiration, the questions. I mean, you really did literally make the channel. The original channel started because of JFAQ, which is frequently asked questions about Japan, and you guys sent those questions in, so that made the channel. I can't thank you enough, and that's why I'm making this video today. What I want to go ahead and do is show you a little bit about my life and how it developed that I ended up in Japan. And I've done that by illustrating this. I did an illustration because in a video a little while back, Victor, give me a break, give me a flake, man, told me that the videos that he misses the most of mine that I used to do was 2 different illustration videos I did of a comic book about a run-in with the Yakuza, and another one I did for Hiko Simon, and there was one other I did that was kind of a goofy video where we were like superheroes in Japan. It was kind of a stupid video, but so I've illustrated a little bit of this one, and this is for you, Victor. That's why I've done that, because you kind of gave me my start, and it's also for the rest of you, for telling you how I got my original start, the origin story of Unrested, if you will. So I hope you enjoy. So how does my long story of how I ended up in Japan begin? Well, it's a bit of I guess, epic graphic novel, which I've drawn out here, and I'm going to show you picture by picture. Number one, because Give Me a Break, Give Me a Flake Man talked about in the past how much he liked my illustrated videos that I've done, and so this is kind of a shout out to him and kind of a thank you to him that if he liked those so much, I'd like to do another one for him. And as you know, I work as an illustrator here in Japan, so I thought I'd share a little bit of those illustrations with you, the viewers, because you definitely deserve some free illustrations. Here we go. Let's start from the beginning. I was about 26 years old when I first looked into moving into Japan. I had finished college just 3 years before. I was in and out of all different types of jobs. I started out with my first job as an art teacher right after Florida lost its funding for all different types of arts in public high schools and elementary schools and junior high schools. That made me out of a job because I was part of the arts. Drama, music, and art lost all their funding. So that left me looking. I worked just about everything from collections to business property management, looking after a very luxurious set of apartments in downtown Sarasota. Well, the little tiny downtown Sarasota has. And that was an okay job. I'm not dissing it, but it sucked for me because it's nothing I have a passion for. And I was waking up day after day saying, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Where am I going? Why am I constantly working this job that's giving me no kind of passion, no kind of future to look forward to, no chance to move up? And then I had a couple of friends who just came back from Japan, like literally 1 year in Japan, came back. They had gone on with a NOVA situation, which is a Kaiwa English Conversation School. NOVA was hiring everyone back then. And so I called them up. I was like, how was that? Was it cool? And they said, look, Scott, you know, it was pretty fun. It wasn't my thing to stay there. I didn't really like it because I didn't like their big thing was they didn't like being the only gaijin in their area. They were in kind of countryside areas, and they said they were the dancing bear of the area. Everyone would stare at them everywhere they went. But they said, you know, it was fun. Nova treats you like shit. They treat you like cattle. But if you're going to go there, go ahead and start out with Nova. But if you want to stay there, maybe look for another job right away. And also look for another apartment. Don't stay in the Nova apartment that they give you. That was their advice right away. But they said, otherwise, you know, check it out, man. If you got a college degree, that's all you need. So I called up. I found out their next interviews were in Tampa, which is right next to Sarasota. Drove over there. I went through a really rigorous interview. I mean, this interview was insanely brutal. It was a 2-hour interview. I had to do things like randomly out of nowhere, they stopped the interview and said, okay, now we're going to show you a picture from Japan, and you need to stand up in front of the room, because it was a group interview, and do a 5-minute speech on the picture that you see. And like, we had zero time to prepare. Like, you had to look at a picture and be like, okay, here's what this is from Japan, this is what I know about it, if you're interested in it, you know. And luckily for me, I had already started researching Japan, because I was looking into Korea, Taiwan, and Japan, and so I had learned about Shinto and Buddhism in Japan, and that's exactly what they showed me, was a Shinto shrine, actually. And so I stood up and just gave people what I knew about Shinto religion. Luckily, it got me saved. But then I remember the hardest part right after that is then they take you on a one-on-one interview and they're like, okay, I'm gonna say a word. You have exactly 3 seconds to say a word to answer back to it. And your words that you answer back to it, you then have to explain why you said that word. And that was really intense. Like, me explaining it now, it might not sound so intense, but imagine you sit down in that room and they just start saying, independence, job security. Like, they just started saying stuff like that, and you just had to be like, possible to do. Like, you had to respond really quick, like, and then you had to explain, why did you just say that? And you're like, oh, because I'm very easy for me to live independently. I don't need a safety net constantly surrounding me because I'm my own man and I can pay for my own apartment, and I've handled utilities and stuff in the past. Because they're looking at kids who are right out of college most times, and they're worried about, they get sent away to 12,000 miles from their home country. They freak out, they call mom and dad, they piss their pants and they head home. It happens a lot. I'm not saying everybody who comes here does that, but for example, the place I was working at was hiring 600 teachers at the time, and I think I still know only one other person who's left here from those 600 teachers 8 years later. So not a lot of people really last in Japan a long time, and I think that's all they were looking for, is that you would be able to last 1 year. So anyway, I passed the interview, I got the job, I did my paperwork, I got everything in order, I headed over to Japan, and it was just exhilarating. I mean, it was amazing. I'm sitting in the airplane ride, which is the most brutal 16-hour flight I've ever been on in my life. I never had been on a flight that long ever, no matter where I had gone. And I finally got there, and just looking at KIX airport as I was touching down was just an amazing feeling. And I remember the bus that picked us up and drove us to my first apartment. I just remember looking at the skyline. We were on this bridge, and I could see the skyline of just this incredible city out in front of me, because I was in the heart of Osaka from the second I touched down. And I just remember thinking, like, this looks so cyberpunk, this looks like so Blade Runner. If you don't know that movie, go check it out, Blade Runner. And it looks amazing. Like, I can't believe I am in this city. I am living here. This is now my home. I'm looking at my suitcase, I'm looking at my backpack, I've got everything I need to live here. I can't believe this is mine. So I get in there, and within the first month or two, I started to notice right away, my friends were right about Nova. It was a shitty company. It was structured poorly. It kind of sucked. The way they treated you was horrible. You were like cattle. And on top of that, it started to fall apart. My first paycheck was okay. My second paycheck, not so good. And this is happening like while I'm teaching students and trying to learn how to teach students, because I had never had students to teach English to. I had taught art, which is totally different. English is very different to teach. I think teaching anything is very different. And I'm trying to worry about this stuff like, am I going to get my next paycheck? How am I going to pay my bills? I need to find a new apartment. I need to find a new job if this place is falling apart. It's in the red. I'm not sure where my money's going to be coming from. So that was it. That happened. It finally crashed. Nova went bankrupt. They do still exist to this day, but they're been bought out by another company they're constantly hemorrhaging money and still totally losing integrity. But they went totally bankrupt. We weren't getting paid. Still to this day, some people haven't gotten their paychecks. And I was out on my own. I was thrown to the dogs. I was, thrown straight into the fire. And I had to learn how to do everything myself. I had to learn how to get an apartment. I had to learn how to read kanji to know what the hell I was even ordering at a restaurant, how to buy a bicycle, a little bit of everything just all at once. It was a real learning experience. It taught me a lot about Japan very, very quickly. I had to learn a lot of the language very quickly, a lot of the customs, how to handle things, how to get a cosigner for an apartment. So yeah, truly a baptism by fire, let's put it that way. But I made it. I got through that. I found a new job. I was feeling pretty satisfied with my new job. And I started to really, really enjoy life. I'd say probably at 2 years is really where I started to feel the full maximum enjoyment of Japan. I could speak enough of the language to communicate with people. I knew all kinds of little niches and corners and places that you could go to that specialized in whatever interests you had in Japan. Cool clubs that only people who knew people could get into. And I was living it up, man. I was going out partying every night. Well, not every night, every Saturday at least, with friends. You know, I was still young too. I was 27, 28. I could do that. I could still live that lifestyle without being the old creep at the club, that 50-year-old guy with his arms around 20-year-olds. There's nothing wrong with that, but in Japan you look a bit weird if you do that. It was good. It was all good until I started to settle down. I started to get close to 30, and I started to think, what is my future in Japan? Do I stay here? Do I go home? And I think when you start to get close to 30 is really where you need to make that decision. For me, especially because it was kind of the point where I really felt like, okay, you really, for real, have to be an adult now at 30. If, 30 is the countdown to 40. If you're not got your shit together by 40, then you're gonna be looked at as a serious fuck up. Let's just be honest. If you're still out getting wasted every night, coming home with a hangover, and can barely work your job the next day when you're 40 plus years old, there's something wrong. There's some kind of maturity check that hasn't been checked off on that box. And so I started to, get a little bit more serious about who I dated, started to stay away from a more crazy lifestyle outside of my workplace, and finally met a girl who is now my wife. I have been married now for 5 years, holy cow, going on 6 years, with 2 wonderful kids. I had my first kid, Kenny, within 1 year of getting married. Dated for 8 months. After 8 months, got married 1 year after being married. We had Kenny. The next year after that, we had Max, my second kid. They're good little kids. They're awesome. And from there, I started to move into the next phase of my life. And my next phase of my life was kind of questioning, what the hell am I doing with this English teaching career? How much passion do I have for it? Is this what I'm going to be doing forever? Because I started to go from English job to English job because they're only 1-year contracts, and you really decide yourself if you want to be hired again for the next year. And for most, they weren't very satisfying, so I didn't want to be hired again for the next year. I didn't go back and say, yeah, sign me up for another contract. And I was working some of the ALT jobs too, and with ALT jobs, you never get sent to the same school when you sign a new contract, almost never. So it was kind of like I couldn't even build a relationship with my students, because even if I loved it and I had a great time at the school and I wanted to re-sign the contract, I would be sent to another school. And for me, that wasn't very fulfilling. I like to progressively get better at what I'm doing and better learn how to help the people that I'm teaching, and if I'm constantly changing environments, that's near impossible to do. I also started to notice when I'd go to the meetings and the conferences for these different jobs that people were there that were up in like their 50s and 60s, and I started to look at them, and they were like single guys that were 50 and 60 years old, living in Japan, still working these same jobs that paid, I mean, for me it was good money. It was like $2,000 to $2,500 a month. That was good when I was single, but now I was with 2 kids. I was like, if I'm still making that when I'm 50 and 60, I'm gonna be pissed off. So I started to look into getting more serious about my true passion, which is art. And that all started with getting into pen and paper gaming again, Dungeons and Dragons, role-playing games, Shadowrun, all that kind of stuff. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you might want to just stop the video here and go Google pen and paper RPGs. I started to play those online with a group of Google friends living in Japan. And I started to be like, wow, I really like drawing for these RPGs that I'm playing. Every time we would play a little session, I'd sit down and I would draw what happened during the session, and it was really fun. And for me, drawing those sessions was something I really enjoyed sharing with everybody else who was playing. And afterwards, they'd say, well, why don't you send these pictures off to some of the companies who make these games? They need artists like you. And I thought, what, really? Because I think everything's like digital art now, and everybody's drawing on computer, and I can do that, it's alright, I can draw on computer, I can use a Bamboo Pad, I can use Adobe Illustrator, but for me it wasn't my passion. And they're like, no, you guys, you gotta understand, there's this whole new retro scene where people are drawing pen and paper ink drawings and sending them into these companies that are reviving first edition books that used to use those drawings, and they want that kind of retro style to come out with these books. And so I said, all right, I'll give it a chance. I started to post them on forums and stuff, and people started to pick them up for free and use them in their little rags, little magazines, little books that they'd send out here and there. And I was totally working for free, but I was just really excited that my work was getting published. I was getting it out in all different types of flyers, magazines, games, game books, monster books, manuals. And then I started to get emails. People started to send me private messages and say, hey, I want you to draw for this, and here's how much I'll pay you. And I had never even asked for money at any point. I was like, what, they're gonna pay me? And I'd even let them know. I was stupid. I'd be like, oh, I usually just do this for free. And they're like, no, you shouldn't do it for free, man. You gotta start charging. Everybody's starting to notice your work. And so I was like, all right, I guess I'll start to do that. And it started with a few very small jobs. I'm talking, I was getting paid very small money, like 15 to 20 bucks per picture, which is like nothing. With the amount of time I was putting into them, I would put like, 3 or 4 hours into a picture that was only 15 bucks. It seems silly now, but for me, I was just still excited to get published. And then they started to get bigger and bigger contracts, and to the point where I finally reached my first, I think my biggest contract I got was $3,000 for a whole book. I was going to be illustrating an entire monster manual for a series called DCC Dungeon Crawl Classics. Goodman Games, you can go check out the website. Little shout out to them. I'm not drawing it for them, it was for a third-party publisher. And that's when I really started to take notice, like, wow, this is starting to launch. This is really taking off. Like, I'm not making that kind of money teaching, but I'm making this kind of money drawing. So I talked to my wife about it. I said, how's this look? I'm making more money doing this, but I still am working full-time as a teacher. So what do? Do I continue to work full-time? Do I continue to do this only part-time? Or do you think I could stop the English career and go after this full steam? And she was supportive. She let me do it. She said, well, if it's making more money, that's a clear sign that you need to go after it. It's something you have a passion for. That's a clear sign you need to go after it. So luckily for me, she was behind me on that. I went ahead and did that. And in the meantime, I still teach a little bit on the side. I've got a little bit of teaching because I still get offered some really good teaching gigs on the side. Art is my main thing, and I do still enjoy a great career with art, daily drawing, and keeping my pockets full and food on the table. But I feel as though Japan will always have a market for teaching English, and with the approaching 2020 Olympics coming up, the English teaching is just going to go crazy for a while. People are going to pay top dollar. So that's what I'm making right now, teaching, and combined with my art, I'm making more money than I've ever made before in my life. Like, even I'm surprised when I see my bank account. I used to never be able to even save money. I used to literally live like paycheck to paycheck, and now my savings is good. Let's put it that way. I'm not going to say any kind of amount on the internet, but it's a very, very secure amount of savings. I've bought a house. I'm 1/3 of the way through my mortgage, which is something I'm very proud of. I know that's not something usually people brag about, but for me, that's astounding compared to how I used to rent an apartment for 140 bucks a week that I used to share with another guy out of college. I remember we used to rent this apartment that was like $280 and share it $140 each and live off of $5 of food a week. It was insane. I can't believe like how hard we were scrounging just to survive, and now I'm paying off a house in the middle of downtown Osaka, which it's not cheap, let's put it that way. So life is pretty good. I've got to say, the things that also keep me pretty well-rounded are my hobbies on the side, which of course are still YouTube. That's pretty obvious as you see me making this video right now. I also continuously work out, keep myself in shape. Healthy eating is very easy in Japan. I feel that makes me a very well-rounded person. And I like to always develop a little bit of skills on the side. Right now I'm practicing everything from juggling to magic tricks. I still play a little bit of music, a little bit of guitar. I still write songs. And I still enjoy a couple other little hobbies with collecting stuff and researching all different types of philosophies, creeds, codes, religions, exact. And moving on from there, who knows where this life will take me. But one thing I do know is that I will always continue to make videos for you, the viewer, unless one day YouTube is taken down, or eventually I will die, I guess, and I'll stop. But until then, videos will go on forever, and this video will be my big giant thank you for taking me this far. In the future, one of my biggest goals would be to reach 100,000 followers. I would love to get that many viewers watching my channel. Perhaps one day it will come true. but it will only come true because of wonderful people like you sharing my videos, commenting on my videos, subscribing to my videos, and giving me the inspiration to continuing to make the material that I put on YouTube here from Japan. Guys, thanks so much. 20K subscribers is super flattering. Until next time, I am Unrested. Please like, comment, and subscribe.